quite a few years ago in the football industry. It was always, it seemed like something that really stood out to me, how different an experience it was for those of us that were at the stadium, living with football, everything that we love about football, and completely different experience for those who were watching it at home. Also fun, also amazing, also passionate, but just a completely different experience. And for me, as a content producer, as a creator who is very, very passionate about football, one of my goals has always been to bring the audience, those who are watching us from home, as close as possible to that experience of being at the stadium. It gives me chills just from saying it, right? So today I am honored to be here with Paul and Giuliano, who have done this amazingly and are bringing that immersive experience for fans, football fans all over the world, to their homes, to their comfort of their homes. It doesn't matter if you're on your couch or in your bed or having a watch party with your friends. You want to be able to live that passion. So Giuliano and Paul, tell us about your football experience. What brought you here? What got you into football? And what makes you be here on this stage with me today?
I will start? Okay.
Go ahead.
Definitely passion. I mean, I was in love with football. Really bad football players, but that gave me the energy to move into the industry. I worked for clubs in Milan, both of them, in my first 20 years of career, being the digital guy at the beginning, early 2000. That was a strange role. The guy in charge of uploading the brand, the logo from the sponsor on the website. That was the digital guy at that time in 2000. And I saw the, let's say, evolution of the digital world from a tech point of view, from a content point of view, the evolution of the club channels, from a Sky platform, at least in Italy, to a, let's say web TV or streaming platform. And then I move into the media industry, working for an OTT company called 11 Sports. And finally, I joined FIFA, so 5 years ago. And at FIFA, I'm working with the media rights department, within the media rights department, and I'm in charge of business development, which is quite challenging because develop business for FIFA is quite an interesting topic. So that's in a nutshell my experience in football.
Paul?
Yep, for me, similar, I guess, in terms of coming from the club space. So working in and around football clubs as part of my early career, working for teams like Bolton Wanderers. Hopefully somebody's heard of them. They were big a little while ago. And it, to sort of brings us back to what we're doing here, I guess, is that was my first look at how data can empower things. So at Bolton, we had a manager called Sam Allardyce, we had some great players who that folks here would know, like Hierro, Campo, Djorkaeff, but we also had some pretty, other players, shall we say. Let's not comment on their abilities because they're way better than I will ever be. But we were able to use the data to increase their advantage. And the data became a bit of a game changer. So much so that, 1 year even that the left back, a guy called Simon Charlton, who nobody here will ever have heard of, won the Player of the Year. So amongst all these great players, the data was able to bring him forward. So there's that. And then there's another thing that kind of brings me forward is that working in another club, we had to deal with legacy provider, Prozone, tracking provider. And we put some of that stats into the website, into the matchday program, and people are interested in it. And that's what kind of got me first. And this is like 2000, 2004, that kind of time. And the stats we're talking about are pretty rudimentary, but we're really interesting, really exciting. So then that brings us kind of full circle to what we're doing now in terms of, using that tracking data to be able to develop something exciting, as you say, for the viewers at home.
Well, exciting it's been. We've had a very exciting summer, actually. We all know as an audience the impact that the Women's World Cup has had on football, on the industry, on fans all over the world. For you at FIFA, from the digital department, what was your goal with this Women's World Cup this summer in Australia and New Zealand?
That's a very good question. The goal was to engage the audience as much as we can. And I guess that we did it. It was an amazing experience. It was an amazing event and tournament. In Australia, the Matildas, they've done a very good job, and the population was really passionate. We had also very good response here in Europe, Germany, the British, the US. They were very good. Unfortunately, they went out quite soon from the tournament. It's a huge audience. We have seen Japan growing a lot. Also, the team was performing really well. And for sure, Spain, they celebrate football on the pitch. They've done an amazing job. And we saw also the audience growing with the tournament, with the competition. We know that the time zone was not the perfect time for Europe, but we were quite impressed. And we had also some good response on the South American, the Colombian team. They did an amazing job. The population was really proud of the team for several reasons. And also, I was in Sydney several times. The local community, I didn't know that in Sydney there is a huge Colombian local community. They were mad about the team. So I guess that we tick all the boxes when we talk about audience engagement.
You mentioned the local communities and the amazing job that regionally or more locally has been done. The Matildas, Colombia, the United States, obviously it's something that we know historically. How is the women's game evolving within FIFA?
From a media rights and technical point of view, I can provide this kind of feedback because that's my area. I guess it's very interesting because the football players are more approachable. And this is giving us more space for creativity to interact with them. So you can imagine a FIFA social media manager giving the phone to a football player. For women's football was possible. Maybe for men's football, you have more resistance from the press offices, from the federation, from the players themselves. They are really keen to collaborate. They are really keen to push for the growth of the game. So that's an interesting point. And the other one is the collaboration that we have done with Second Spectrum, trying to find new way to consume live matches, new way to bring football in a big screen at home. That was quite interesting. For sure, is a test and learning moment and activity for us, but I guess also for you and for the broadcaster that are taking this kind of feed. But women's football gave us this kind of opportunity to test and learn new way, new concept in terms of live matches.
Definitely, I believe, and we've seen the results, how the audience is always expecting more approachability, more closeness to the players. As you say, now with the Women's World Cup, you were able to actually do stuff where you bring them closer to the audience, and obviously tech is something that helped you achieve this summer. And I know you guys have an amazing video to show us how you made this happen, right? This makes me feel I'm in a video game. Like the two worlds are merging, no?
Yeah.
The kind of like the experience, and especially like younger audience that are so into like, you know, the FIFA, the video games, and even driving the engagement more towards that. Can you tell us more about this technology and how you helped FIFA leverage it during the Women's World Cup?
Yeah, so that was only a short snapshot of what we did. So we covered a lot of games. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scene. Obviously, you know, I'm here to talk about it, get the exciting thing of talking about it, but there's lots of work that goes on behind the scenes. There's a couple of things there I want to call out is that, you know, ourselves and FIFA wanted to do something quite different. So, you know, to create that kind of buzz around the tournament. And there's a couple of things there that you just see on the screen is like of where we've augmented. So all this is automated. All this is integrated into the action. There's no, you know, there's not 1,000 people pressing buttons in the background, because if that was the case, then we would never be able to scale it. So it's a, you know, it's a computer we've taught to understand the game, I guess. But yes, you can see there. There's two things I'll call out. The first name is, you know, we know where all the players are every 25 frames a second. So let's put the names above the heads. Because I don't know about you guys, but I go into a World Cup and you know some of the players, you know the star players, but there's always some new players you don't know about who will interest you. So you want to know who they are, so you can follow them, so you can support them, etc. So that's one thing that we were always cognizant of. The second thing is that, you know, you see the player trails there, the speed trails, if you like, and they're doing two things. Firstly, obviously alerting to how fast the player is running in terms of that kind of, you know, traffic light symbolism. But for me as well, if you watch it and then you see you know, if somebody's on the left-hand side and has got the ball, and then on the right-hand side, the winger is faster than her attacker, defender, then that draws your eye. That's where the ball should be played. So you know, giving some kind of little inkling into the kind of the sort of the game and the tactics, if you like. So learning a bit more, and then sort of broadly, really, is that for us is that broadcasting is, you know, in terms of that kind of box, if you like, has stayed the same for a long time. You know, we've added things like, you know, the scoreboard was added in. You've added possession stats. We've added in, you know, the screens have got bigger and high resolution, but the actual sort of the visual has not got any different really in terms of what we've done. So hopefully what we're showing now is this kind of, you know, paradigm shift, if you like, to something a bit more interesting on the screen. And you know, and Giuliano said there is like a test and learn. So this is very much a kind of toe in the water as to where we expect to go in the near future. And part of it was about that. Let's test, let's learn, let's get feedback, because, you know, we're not the experts. We're experts in some things, but we're not experts in viewing. So for us, it was about that kind of episode. But yeah, it was a wonderful experience to work with, and one we hope that will continue as we go forward into future competitions.
Definitely, and it's both evolving. You know, the game with the experience, the immersiveness that it's bringing. There seems to be a lot of data involved here in order to push that knowledge or that information out to the audience. How does data play a part in this whole ecosystem? So
it's all based on tracking data. So like I say, there's no sort of, you know, there's not 1,000 people doing this work because we couldn't do it. It's all based on tracking data. It's all automated. So we get sub-second tracking data from the venue, validated by our friends at FIFA. So we know it's right because they do a great job in terms of validating it. And then we take that tracking data into our environment, into our workflow. And then what we're able to do then is that the tracking data is that kind of foundational layer. So then, you know, and that's, you know, it's interesting to do that, but it's then what you do next with the tracking data is always valuable to us. And we found this real sweet spot in being able to convert XY coordinates, which is what tracking data is, into something meaningful, like, you know, what a coach or a fan would understand. So because we know where all the players are every 25 frames a second, we can say, okay, how fast they're moving, are they approaching a player, are they pressing a player? So we can you know, put that into our data and then eventually put that onto the screen as well. But yeah, the tracking data is that kind of foundational layer, but then it's what we do with that afterwards as well that really counts.
Giuliano mentioned earlier when we were speaking the word datainment, like the mix between data and entertainment. How is this playing a part in the future of broadcasting as we know it?
That's a word that we use because we like to give us a tone. I mean, the reason why we are doing that is because we would like to differentiate the feed. different experience that the user are having at home, mainly on the big screen. Because also to consume this kind of data or this kind of graphic, it's better to use the big screen. There are different elements here that we can keep in consideration. One is the performance, so how the data can support a technical analysis, maybe after the match, for hardcore fun. The other one could be a more cartoonish element for different audiences, or trying a combination of the two. So that's, again, the reason of test and learning is because this is something that doesn't exist into the market. It's something that we need to push, in my opinion, in collaboration with technical suppliers, to attract new audiences, to retain also some of the audience that is already engaged with us. We think that this is the right approach, but for sure the graphics is the right graphics. We don't know. The map is the right position. That one, when the ball is or the game is playing in that zone, we don't know. We need is a continuous relationship with the broadcaster and with the audience to understand how to evolve this kind of product. It's important to say that we went through, we distribute this kind of feed worldwide through selected broadcasters, mainly the broadcaster with a strong digital strategy. Even if it's a big screen, this is defined as a digital product for several reasons. So pure OTT, telco, company working with influencers, and we need also to create somehow a connection between the product and the editorial part. So the commentator that is commenting this kind of new graphics, it's something that at the moment doesn't exist. Also because the audience has to understand, and they need someone helping them to understand why there is a red flame behind the player or stuff like that.
No, it's the right thing, actually. It's the right thing to think about, is that because the execution we did here was just one single stream we pushed out. But what we can do is we can push out multiple streams. So as Julian was referencing there, you could have one stream with flames and fires for kids. You could have one stream that has, analytical information, as I referenced earlier, or you can have one that's, that kind of in different languages. So, that using that same content over and over again is something we can do. But, and that scalability is part of that.
Yeah. If I may add just one element, because the digital, transformation, evolution, gave us as a user the opportunity to consume football where and when we want. Okay, that's clear.
Demand.
I guess that this kind of element is bringing the concept of how we want. Mm-hmm. And that's a new pillar that we need to understand a little bit more, because it's not just my personal point of view, it's the audience point of view. And that's something that sometimes we tend to confuse.
Definitely. It's the trends start happening out there. We get access to all this information and content all the time, and then it's up to us, the industry, if we accept it and embrace it and involve with it, or reject it, right? And I think the correct approach is to embrace it and go with what the audience is asking. It reminds me of a video that came out right after the FIFA World Cup in Brazil in 2014. They did a whole recap of the biggest move, the greatest plays of the World Cup with special effects. And that's where the industry is going. How does that attainment need or demand from the audience and more knowledge and on demand and how they consume create a challenge for you at Genius technology-wise?
Well, we'll always be guided by the audience. That's the key bit. And I think that's what we're both saying here, is that, we are not the experts, but we like to work and curate things in the eye of the viewer, I guess. But yeah, for us is that we're kind of at this stage where we've pushed this out now as a kind of single stream. We're now going to working with broadcasters for multiple streams of the same content. But I think that kind of the next phase for us is where we always want to get to, is that personalization. So, the world has been personalized and for many different other media channels. So you go like, Spotify can tell you what tunes you want to listen to. Netflix can offer you recommendations for movies. Sports hasn't done that yet, and I think that's where potentially we can step in here. So at the moment, yes, we're at this kind of stage where we can create multiple different streams based on the same content. The real exciting bit is when we take that and then the viewer becomes their own director. So you can choose that, we might think that throwing lots of graphics and things on screen is exciting, but there's going to be a viewer that won't want that as well. So they need to have that choice to be able to say, okay, I need to be able to turn that off or turn that on. And that's that kind of next phase where we get to, is that with technology will catch up with our ambition, is that he's been able to, click on a screen, okay, I want to see that information, I don't want to see the running stats, I want to see the possession stats, I do want to see flames for this next 5 minutes, or for the last 10 minutes, it's a tight game, so I literally just want to focus on the action. And I think that's where we're working towards, and where we'll win in the end in terms of that kind of personalization, delivering what the viewer wants.
To both of you, I'm sure you've had plenty of experience. What's the feedback that you've gotten from broadcasters or partners, especially in this last summer, that you got this second spectrum thing going full on?
The feedback is very positive, because I guess that FIFA is not perceived as an innovative company. So that the fact that we are moving in that direction, or let's say not on the pitch, that we are moving in that direction is providing a message to the market that we want to test and learn. For sure, there are audiences more engaged, country more engaged with this kind of approach. At the end of the day, we need to somehow create business for the broadcasters. And the business is a new opportunity to monetize or a new way to engage audiences. At some point, considering the media rights landscape and the different services that they are, the broadcaster, the MRS, the media rights licensees, they are paying for services, and you need to understand that there are several services that FIFA is offering via HBS, our partner, and at some point the budget is not infinite. I mean, you need to say, okay, I want one more camera, or I want the datainment feed. So it's important that we are keeping consistency on providing these kind of services, but it's also important that this is becoming a new source of opportunities for the market. That's fundamental, because what I can see now is the market approaching to this kind of element more for a PR exercise, to be on the news as an innovative, which is definitely a brand element, very important to position the organization, to position the product that we are trying to develop, but at some point has to become something concrete that can generate a real transformation.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think that's right. Just to add to that is that, we're in the process of having that feedback loop with the various different broadcasters. It's been positive so far. Want to learn more. For us, the kind of the measure is, one of the broadcasters, we've had conversations about other properties, other rights they've got in terms of augmenting that. So that's always seems to us as a kind of positive. And then, the good old internet, social media is always a good sort of, barometer of what things, it can be a pretty tricky place sometimes, but pretty much the feedback has been very strong about, wanting to learn more, wanting to see what's on offer. So I think, so those are the kind of like small barometers we get so far. But yeah, I think time will tell as we develop this even further.
Definitely. I want to give some room for questions if the audience have questions, but before we wrap it up, Giuliano, you already know what this can do for football. How can other sports leverage this technology in order to create a more immersive experience for audiences?
I think that other sports are really moving in this direction probably faster than us.
Good to know.
I mean, we have seen the NFL, the NBA doing amazing stuff. Again, the American culture is.
I was going to say that.
is a little bit different. At the end, is the audience that is much more keen to consume such a product. Yeah. I guess that football or soccer is a more traditional product. And I don't want to say that we are reluctant to change the rules, but there are barriers, there are different point of view. The name on the player, for me, was something interesting. It's a small addition, it's not really intrusive. Is giving recognition. Personally, but that's my taste. We need to work a little bit more on the speed. We need to work a little bit more on the languages, because now is English and maybe for Spanish broadcaster. You need also to evolve in that direction, or for the Japanese or Israeli, or so. We need to adapt also this kind of customization, and we need to understand which are the real elements that are giving added value to the commentators, as I mentioned, and to the audience.
I think, just to add, I think from our side is that I think it's all about telling stories. So we've got to make sure we're storytellers. So, we can put loads of graphics on screens, but we just don't want it to be gimmicky. There's got to be some, outcome. There's got to be some reason for doing it. So, and that's why we come back to using the tracking data to be able to, sort of engage the audience a little bit more and give them more of what's going on the screen in the plays. It's good that you mentioned sort of NFL and NBA, because that's the world we work in. We do a lot of work in those different spaces, and in the NFL in particular. We're now looking at that, moving into that predictive element of, okay, we now, the players set down for the down and get ready, and now we're able to highlight, given the data, who's the most relevant person to be looking at. So we put a little circle or a puddle, we call it, underneath the player to say, look at this guy. Given the data, he's more likely to make something happen in this play. And I think that presumably becomes really quite an exciting opportunity to be able to develop. And we've done lots of things with the NBA. We've done something with Marvel with the NBA, where the players were superheroes, which was just if you haven't seen that definitely deserves a watch. But then there's lots of others like Formula One are doing some great work. There's some other stuff that Nickelodeon are doing with a slime game they do every year. So it's coming and it's interesting. But you definitely need that choice to be able to determine what you want to turn on, what you want to turn off.
Definitely, we're going from sports to sportainment. Yeah, I'm taking
making
up a word too.
A new
we'll
word.
Coin that phrase as
for
well.
my social media.
Definitely. All right, so we have 5 minutes. I have a lot of questions, but I will let the audience ask if there's anybody that wants to ask Paul or Giuliano something.
Can I ask?
Yes, of course.
To be honest, I don't play video games, and I know we tend to say, oh, things like video games. However, this new technology when it comes to... Yes, okay. This new technology when it comes to educating people about the women's game is very important. When I was looking all the graphic, I was like, there are so many comparison when it comes to speed and strength when it comes to the men's game. And now we have like a platform that somehow not only gives the story of the names of the players, which is very important, but also how the game is involved in overcoming the growth of the speed. And I don't know if there is, I saw some of the World Cup, but I don't know if at some point we'll have like some tactical information to also inform how the women's game is so much better than before and so similar to the highest level we can be. My question for you guys are, when is the next competition we will have that platform? I don't know if you said that.
No, we haven't said that. So obviously, we should do every FIFA competition. No.
I guess we said it's a test and learning, and test and learning is going ahead. So the next one is going to be probably, I don't know if for the under-17 or for the Club World Cup, at least on the FIFA side. Probably the Club World Cup is going to be the next one. But I want to come back to your question. You said comparison, and that's an interesting element, because if we have the opportunity, and that's again the editorial angle that we are missing here, compare the speed of the game with the speed of the tournament. Giving this kind of understanding is probably the evolution. And then you said performances. FIFA is collecting and gathering data and returning to the federation and to the clubs for them to analyze this kind of data. Let's say that the technical part of each federation or club is quite sensitive on this kind of information. So we need also to find the right balance between media distribution and what is relevant for the team to increase their own performances.
And for us, so the next part of what we do there is that we've already started working on is creating this kind of putting more data on the screen. So creating that extra storytelling so that, and Julian's right, is that we needed some kind of commentary on that to be able to say what's happening. So we pioneered this L bar, if you like, that goes on the screen that has all its information that surrounds the frame of the action. We still have the augmented graphics on with the names, etc. But then there's just more information around there. And for us, is that the kind of key thing is there is to give that kind of context that you're talking about. But also it's to be able to compare, this happened last week, but this is happening this week. But also to give that extra information. And that's where we feel as though, we're looking at, this primary screen, second screen. So what we want to develop is this ability to be able to just look at the primary screen and not have to work with the secondary screen. I mean, research tells us that it's, people just want to look at one screen. You don't want to have to go to a second screen for more information. So I think that's where we'll get the next iteration, if you like.
Well, as a broadcaster, I am certainly very grateful for this software and for this immersive experience that allows us to have more information on the players, and I'm sure the audience as well, because as we said earlier, and as she mentioned, it makes you understand better, compare better, and want to get more involved because you know more data, more facts about each player. So I do feel that this is a trial and learn, but it's definitely uphill from here. So thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.